Alright, so hello everyone and welcome back to the Ratchet Motors YouTube channel. Now, apologies that it's been quite some time since we came out with some content. We had a very busy summer. So you may be wondering, where have we been? What's been up with any of the content here? So what happened is, to start the summer in May, my wife and I went for an anniversary trip to Italy. We took 2 weeks and kind of went over the pond, if you will. And then from there, I spent the rest of the summer actually back in Massachusetts. My wife had an internship up in Mass, so we spent the whole summer there with family. And as a result, I didn't really have much projects or much things to do as far as automotive work or fabrication work. But we did spend a little time getting my dad's 86 Kawasaki 454 LTD up and running. So I'll try to see if I can put a clip up in here of that. And that was basically, the tank had rotted out, so we had to replace the tank. We put in some tank sealer. I'll put a link in the description. We used a really good tank sealer. It worked really well for our project there, so that was great. But now we're back in North Carolina and ready to get back into our projects. And before anything, like I said, we've been gone for 3 months. So before we dive into any work here, we're just going to show a little love to the Bug and the truck. So I'm going to start by getting the Bug up and running, reprime the oil system, just to make sure everything's oiled, and then we'll get it started up. And then what we'll do is we'll take the Bug out to grab some oil, because we're going to dive into our Triumph Thunderbird project for the next month or so. And really what we're going to be doing here, we bought this as a non-runner. So I bought this probably about a year ago now as a non-runner bike. No idea what's really wrong with it, other than that the previous owner said he kind of got in over his head. So what we're going to do with the bike here is we're going to run out, like I said, and grab some oil. And we're just going to give it a once over, try to get it up and running. The wiring isn't great, so there's a couple things we need to just clean up real quick. And then we'll try to kick it over and see if we can just get it to run. And that's kind of how we can evaluate what we need to do. What you can see here is the motor and transmission. Just really everything on here is really nice and clean and immaculate. So I'm hoping that looks are not deceiving and we can get this up and running pretty easily. The other thing we'll have to figure out at some point, so they chopped the frame here for some reason, so we'll figure out a seat and we'll add some tubing here to kind of close off the frame. And we'll probably give this some kind of bobber or scrambler type look just to work with our chopped frame already. But like I said, first things first, let's get the Bug up and running again, take that for a spin, and then we'll hop on the bike work. Alright, so great success here. We made it to Advanced Auto in one piece. So we'll go ahead and grab our motor oil for the bike, and then we'll get into it. Alright, so we made it home from our trip from getting oil, no harm. Sounds like our fans are turning in here. Beautiful. Just take a quick listen to how it sounds back here. Alright, so that was a lot of fun taking the Bug out, and everything went really smooth as far as I'm concerned. I couldn't be happier. But that was an errand. We went out to go get some oil. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to check and just make sure everything's tight in the, as far as the oil pan, the sump area. It was a little wet under there, so I'm going to clean it up with some brake clean. Just clean up, make sure everything's tight, and then we'll fill in some oil, fill it up with some oil, and we'll turn it over. I have a new battery here, and I connected it, and the lights turned on and stuff. So in theory, we may be able to get this to turn over. We'll see what happens here. All right, so we've oil in it and the gas turned off, so we're just gonna see how it sounds turning over, or if it will even turn over. I don't know, that sounds like it might have a chance there. All right, so we put some fuel in it. One thing to do now is give it a try and see what happens. All right, so we cranked it over and we didn't get anything, and I realized why. I think things are getting a little strange here. But if you look, there's a good reason why we're not getting any combustion. We don't have any spark plugs in here, I don't think. So whoever put this engine back together or took it apart at whatever point didn't bother with the spark plugs. So that's why it's turning over so easily, and that's why it sounds like there's not really any combustion happening. But everything else sounds good, so I think I just need to pop some spark plugs in it and we should be able to get it to run. So I'm going to do some research here and figure out where I can get some spark plugs, and I'll get back to everyone. Alright, so we're back in the garage today, and we have what we think is probably the missing link here, which are some damn spark plugs. I never really looked over the bike too much, and as you probably know if you've worked on any of these, the spark plugs are kind of hidden up in there. But if you work on internal combustion engines, you'll know we definitely need spark plugs. I should say internal gas combustion engines. But what we'll do here, we're just going to pull the tank off. Unfortunately, it's got a little fuel in it, but I'm hoping if I close that petcock, it won't let any of it out. We'll take the fuel tank off, disconnect the battery ground, and we'll pop in those spark plugs, and hopefully we can hear this bike run today. Alright, time for test fire number 2. Now including spark plugs. Stupid ass light. Try that charger. Probably a bad idea, but I'm still gonna try to get to run for a second. I have the fuel actually still turned off there. Now we know the sprag's bad, but I still want to hear if I get this motor just running for my own sanity. Let's see, it looked like I knocked off something here. We'll just go for it. Alright, so that sound you heard in that last clip kind of confirms the worst of news. One of the common problems for this bike is the sprag clutch, which is part of the starting system. And what happens, I guess, is that the spring in it ends up failing. So I was kind of already prepared for this. So unfortunately, that's going to wrap up the video for today. What we're going to do is we're going to dive into our Haynes manual in the next video here. And we're going to pull the motor completely out of this bike, open it up, replace that sprag clutch, and get this bike running again. So with all that, really appreciate all the support, everyone. Really appreciate the likes, all the comments. Share with your friends, subscribe for more content, and hope to see you again soon.